Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's talk about another entry here. Let's focus also again on another new entry. Lots of good suggestions this go around because there were a lot of things that instantly caught my eyes. It's not like some of the past ones haven't, but what I mean is like when I'm looking at the information, the names, and then I bring up that stuff on research, it immediately catches my attention, and so was this one as well. So thank you so much again for your continued suggestions, and this one has to do with yet another one of my beloved lumberjack cryptids. So you know how much I love those. I probably have like a small catalog of these now created, and on top of that it has to do with a cryptid, a creature that is essentially man's best friend. So it's a trifecta of things all in one, and it has to do with this. You're looking at it now, you can see exactly why I called it man's best friend. It's known as the Teakettler, and the reason for that very specific name I'll mention here in just a moment. So let's go ahead, let's talk about all the interesting information tied to this lumberjack cryptid. So what is this Teakettler? Well, yet again, it's another lumberjack animal or whatever is the case that is roaming somewhere around the United States, probably since the frontier days, just like all the other lumberjack cryptids. In this case, though, it happens to be within areas of Minnesota and then Wisconsin. So those of you that happen to be in those locations, you'll have a slight advantage when it comes to running into this creature, particularly for a sound that it makes, and I'll touch upon that here again in a moment. First, let's talk about the characteristics, its physical characteristics. All it is, essentially, it's a small dog, just like your average small stubby dog. You know how cute those little dogs are, especially with those fat little stubby legs. That essentially what this creature is. In some cases, though, its legs have the ability, like in the front legs, are pointing backwards, and this is because some of these Teakettlers only walk backwards, and that makes it easier for them to do so. So if you see a Teakettler, in this case, walking around backwards, and in particular you see the front legs reversed, then essentially that's why you're looking at it. As far as its ears too, the only thing that stands out is it has smaller ears than usual. In this case, the size of a small cat. It looks like nature or evolution did not decree it to have a large amount of ears, but by far the biggest characteristic of it is this, and the reason why it's called a Teakettler. However the physics work, considering its small body, it can create a sound that is basically mini tea kettles all together at one boiling. You know that sound that these things make whenever you have water within a tea kettle, it reaches that boiling point, then there's that loud whistle. Well, imagine something along those lines, but several of them together at once, and that essentially is what you have here. Hence its name, the Teakettler. Now, whether it uses this as, let's say, an offensive weapon or a defensive weapon, who knows? Maybe it even uses it for hunting or mating purposes, who knows as well? But that is by far its most distinct feature. So if you're ever in the Minnesota, Wisconsin area, and you happen to be around, let's say, forests or plain areas, whatever is the case, and you happen to hear the unmistakable sound of a tea kettle, the boiling sound of one, and you know for certain that there's nobody else around, maybe someone is, doing a campfire and happens to have one, but otherwise, if you know for certain that nobody else is around, then you're in the presence of a Teakettler. Luckily, though, there's nothing harmful about these creatures. There's nothing in terms of them attacking people, hunting people, killing people, anything along those lines. They just simply seem to be a passive lumberjack cryptid that just roam the areas there in Minnesota and Wisconsin. So one can also imagine them maybe even befriending people that they come across, because even dogs that are in the wild, in some cases, they can see humans as being not necessarily like hunting purposes or enemies, just more on the lines of they'll let them pass by, that kind of stuff. But yes, that is most of the information associated with the Teakettler. One other thing that stands out also is apparently only one has been seen, because they are very, very, very shy. So it's quite rare to come across one. So if you do see one, most likely you'll hear one because of that unmistakable sound. But if you do happen to see it, then you are in a fortunate spot. You'll be one of the most rare persons on earth to have witnessed it. The only other time this thing has been placed into any other kind of of medium happens to be a book called The Book of Imaginary Beings, something by Jorge Luis Borges. I guess he was chronicling information related to encounters, whatever is the case, with creatures in the United States, and this Teakettler happens to be within it as well. But that's it. That's pretty much all the information associated with this unique lumberjack cryptid. Again, another one here, another one of my favorites subjects to talk about. If you haven't had a chance, check out my other lumberjack cryptids too, because those get a good number of views. It suggests that others definitely find these creatures very, very interesting, very as much as interesting as I find them to be. So, all right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.